endings, broken futures, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's July 20th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to on day 142 of the Iran war. Average price of a gallon of gasoline here in America is now above $4, according to AAA. It's looking all bad. A bunch of talks about ground invasion. Iran's mocking us, essentially, calling us on, saying, come on, America, do a ground invasion. We're going to take a look at that, the bombings over the weekend. Where we up? We're bombing them right now. We're bombing Iran right now. CENTCOM, 2 hours? Something like that before we came on air. Made the announcement. Another bombing campaign. We'll take a look at all of those details for you. Strait of Hormuz essentially closed. The strait on the other side threatened to be closed. Saudi Arabia, the Houthis going at it. Like 20-25% of global shipping goes through those routes. No big deal, I'm sure. No big deal. All these ins and outs for you. Where we at? 17 dead U.S. troops now. Over 200 injured since the beginning of this ridiculous illegal foreign war of aggression. End it now. Peace. Peace. We can end all this now. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. We got a little FIFA news over the weekend. Trump had to put himself in the center of the FIFA World Cup Championship trophy presentation. Spain photoshopped him out of the photo. Just you can't make this stuff up. Beyond the pale of ridiculousness. We have a little public health news. We have a little Epstein news. We have a whole bunch of economic news. We have geopolitical news. Russia, Ukraine. It looks horrific. That war, quite horrific. We have a little bit of coverage out of there. Some other, looks like everything's getting prepped to attack Cuba next. That's not looking good. And then news out of Lebanon. They're continuing the demolition campaign. They stole all that land. We'll take a look at it. It doesn't look like they're giving it back, and the genocide in Gaza, tragically enough, continues. We got reports there as well. Whole lot of killing. And what did they admit? They admitted, we got the reports. They're submitting now civilian harm is part of the strategy there in Gaza. We got those reports and much more on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I see a few people coming online right now. Shout out to Ruckus on the YouTube. Thank you for joining us, Ruckus. Okay, let me get to this day in history, and we'll get to all the news here. On this day, almost forgot our satanic calendar, our dark occultist satanic calendar. It almost slipped through the cracks. They almost cast that spell on me so I wouldn't report to you. No, seriously. On this day, starting July 20th through July 26th, so all this week, the dark occultist satanic calendar, we're going to see them carrying out rituals that involve abduction, ceremonial preparation, and holding of sacrificial victims for the grand climax that's going to happen on July 27th And so be aware that these dark occultists are running these rituals all over the place. So be aware. We're in the week that leads up to the grand climax, which is 5 weeks and 1 day after summer solstice, and that will be July 27th. So be aware. A lot of evil being conjured up this week. All right, on this day in our history, we go back to, on January 20th, we go back to the year 1402. There we saw the Battle of Ankara. Army of Timberlane, with its armor-plated elephants, defeats forces of Ottoman Empire, capturing Bayezid in the process, leading to an Ottoman power vacuum. I just mentioned it because the armor-plated elephants, but yeah, crazy. In 1402, imagine an army riding up in on top of armor-plated elephants. 1825, on this day, the Java War begins in the Dutch East Indies as a rebellion against Dutch colonial rule led by the Javanese prince Diponegoro, and lasts until 1830, about 5 years, killing an estimated 200,000 Javanese. 1858, on this day, we saw the first administration fee is charged to watch a baseball game here in America, 50 cents to watch New York beat Brooklyn. They're in the first admission paid at a baseball game. 1868, on this day, we saw the first use of tax stamps on cigarettes. 1921, on this day, we saw the first woman preside over the House of Representatives. Congresswoman Alice Mary Robertson becomes the first woman to preside over the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. 1924, on this day, Tehran, Persia comes under martial law after the American Vice Consul Robert Embry is killed by a religious mob, enraged by rumors he had poisoned a fountain and killed several people. What the hell? Say we've been at war with Iran, Persia since 1924. Hell, we've been at war with them for 102 years since that incident. What the hell? Don't give them any ideas. I know they'll start making that claim out there in your propaganda, government and media. On this day in 1932, in Washington, D.C., police fired tear gas on World War I veterans, part of the bonus army, while they were there protesting, trying to get early pay back for their service in World War I due to the fact we were in an economic depression. On this day in 1933, there was 3 events in 1933. Imagine that, Ruckus. Imagine that. First, 1933, on this date, Germany. In Germany, 200 aardvark merchants are arrested in Nuremberg and paraded through the streets. Also in 1933, in London, an estimated 500,000 march against anti-Semitism. And then finally, in 1933, on this day, Vatican Secretary of State Pacelli, the future Pope Pius VII, signs the Reichskonkordat with Nazi Germany. And so we do appreciate the Nazi collaboration out of the Vatican there. 1944, on this day, and there was a whole lot of battles going on at land, sea, and air. I can't even go through them all. Dozens of battles for World War II. I just wanted to focus on this one. On this day, 1944, U.S. invades Japanese-occupied Guam. 1949, on this date, Aardvark lands 19th month war of independence ends. 1969, we're told, allegedly, I don't believe them, but we'll just go with the official story here. Apollo 11 lands on the moon. Seriously? 1969, NASA's Apollo 11 lunar module carrying Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin lands on the surface of the moon. 7 hours later, Armstrong becomes the first person to step on the moon at 10:56 p.m. Eastern Time, and Aldrin joins him shortly after. Michael Collins remains in orbit in the command module. And here's the alleged footprint. Here's Buzz Aldrin's alleged footprint on the moon. I'm saying it was in a Hollywood basement. I don't know. A la Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm not buying it, but that's the official story on this day. 1976, on this day, Vietnam War. The United States completes its troop withdrawal from Thailand. 1977, on this date, the CIA releases documents under the Freedom of Information Act revealing it had engaged in mind control experiments. 1994, on this day, O.J. Simpson offers reward. Former NFL running back, broadcaster, and actor O.J. Simpson offers $500,000 reward for evidence of ex-wife's killer. Yep, see? And we're still looking to this day to find the killer of O.J.'s wife. 2012, on this day, 12 people are killed and 59 injured after a gunman opens fire at a Dark Knight movie premiere in Aurora, Colorado. Remember that horrific mass shooting? It was almost like he was under, I don't know, CIA mind control. And on this day in our civil liberties history, 1965, New York criminal anarchy law repealed. New York State on this day repealed its criminal anarchy law enacted on April 3rd, 1902. The law became the model for similar state laws in 29 other states, such as California, such as the California criminal syndicalism law. These laws were used during the 1920s and 1930s as the primary instrument for state prosecutions of alleged radicals for their political views. The New York criminal anarchy law has a special place in American constitutional law history. During the Red Scare, 1919 to 1920, it was used to prosecute Benjamin Gitlow for advocating the violent overthrow of the government. Gitlow's appeal to the Supreme Court resulted in the landmark decision of Gitlow versus New York on June 8th, 1925, in which the court, for the first time, held that the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment incorporated the free speech and free press clauses of the First Amendment and made them applicable to the states. The incorporated doctrine became the basis for the civil liberties and civil rights revolution in the following decades as the Supreme Court incorporated other provisions of the Bill of Rights into the 14th Amendment. And on this day in 1970, in our civil liberties history, ATF agents no longer allowed to snoop on libraries Secretary of the Treasury, David Kennedy, on this day issued a directive to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, to agents that they would no longer be permitted to make general searches of libraries to obtain lists of books checked out by certain individuals. In Atlanta and Milwaukee, agents acting without warrants had requested the circulation records of persons who had checked out materials related to the construction of explosive devices. Government snooping on library records returned in the 1980s with the FBI's Library Awareness Program, September 18th, 1987, and escalated even further after 9/11, January 23rd, 2003. And here's our segue to the news. The weekend's bombing campaign. CENTCOM ends weekend wave of strikes against Iran. When they posted this last night. CENTCOM says CENTCOM assets targeted Iranian military command centers, air defense, and coastal surveillance sites, maritime capabilities, missile and drone launch sites, and communication networks to further diminish Iran's ability to attack commercial vessels and civilian mariners transiting the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. military is holding Iran accountable at the commander-in-chief's direction. CENTCOM forces remain highly vigilant, focused, lethal, and ready. And here's their little video segue to the news. So allegedly, according to U.S. Central Command, those are all the targets aforementioned that we blew up in Iran. Trust in Trump. The White House put this out. We're getting beyond dystopia. Yeah, overwhelming support for Iran peace deal. Yeah, nobody wants this stupid war. But yet here we are. Here we are, bombing Iran as I speak. "17 U.S. service members have died in the Iran war. Over 200 injured. PR man Perel out of the Department of War says, while nearly 100 service members were deemed to have some degree of injury since July 7th, 96% have returned to duty. They are determined to go back in the fight. The vast majority of injuries experienced were minor concussions. Further updates will be posted on the Defense Casualty Analysis System. God is good. And that was in reply to this failing New York Times. There you go. Pentagon withheld dozens of U.S. military injuries in Iran war. Central Command is not required to release information about injured troops, especially when they quickly return to duty, a military official said. Upon this news, Trump said, every time Iran kills an American soldier, they will pay for that killing many times over. This directive has been passed on to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Daniel Kane, and every leader in the military. Just end it now. It's going to just keep getting worse and worse and worse. Trump orders, yeah, we covered that. Trump orders U.S. military to retaliate many times over for every American soldier killed by Iran. How about we stop this war? That could work too. And sadly, the poor go die in these wars. Using this dead service woman, Isabella Gonzalez, 19, as a prop for propaganda. Tragically enough, she's no longer with us. And also, James Feehan, 25, right here. Tyler James Feehan, no longer with us. New York City Mayor, Ma'am Danny, doubles down, says he may arrest Bibi on American soil. Let's watch this clip. I don't think so. He's playing to his left-wing base here, who have some faith in the system that it could actually enact justice. I have no faith, and this will not happen, per Trump too, but we'll get to that in a minute.
When it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu, we're speaking about someone who's the subject of an international criminal court arrest warrant. And he's the subject of this arrest warrant for alleged crimes against humanity, for war crimes, and he's the architect of the genocide against Palestinians in Gaza as Israel's prime minister. These are not facts of my personal assessment, they are facts of public record. And I believe that when someone is charged with an international criminal court warrant, it's something that should be taken seriously, whether it's Benjamin Netanyahu or it's Vladimir Putin or whomever else. What I've also made clear is that my administration will follow all applicable local laws. That is our commitment. That is something that we will follow through on when it comes to an adherence to local law. And that's all I have to add on that. When it
U.S. don't follow international law, so yeah. And then Trump put out this post of Shadow President Milei here. Bibi will not be arrested in any way, shape, or form while in the United States of America. He is fighting against the Islamic Republic of Iran, which recently killed 52,000 innocent protesters. That's literally just made up. They've provided no evidence whatsoever. That's a lot of bodies to get rid of, 52,000 that quickly. Highly doubt it was that many. Continuing here, and has spent the last 47 years killing American soldiers and others. What the hell? As I reported on This Day in History, let's take it back 102 years. Might as well. If we're going to settle all these old scores and just have a never-ending war, take it back 102 years, Trump. The only ones that should be arrested are the people that led Iran into this unprecedented spiral of death and destruction, something that should have been dealt with years ago by previous presidents. Trump killed their supreme leader, old man Khomeini. Like Iran, he's like Iran's top religious dude. Like, you kind of pissed him off a lot there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we saw it during his funeral procession. 40 plus million came out to mourn old man Khomeini's death. Further uniting the Iranians and the region against America here now. Iran's parliamentary speaker Ghalibaf accused Washington of sending more military equipment to the region while claiming it wants to end the war. The Americans have bet on our intelligence being as limited as their own IQ, Ghalibaf said. We have reached the stage of mastery in recognizing these American games, and we have prepared ourselves accordingly. Actions must confirm claims, not contradict them. Huh? In other words, they're tired of the BS. And so are we here in America, actually. U.S. officials say talks with Iran are continuing, even as Trump vows to keep striking Tehran. A U.S. official told Al Jazeera and Axios that Trump is focused on making Iran pay, quote, pay for alleged MOU violations, actions in the Strait of Hormuz, and the deaths of U.S. troops. See, it's never going to end. Somebody's always going to have vengeance on the last bad thing the other side did. And it's just literally never going to end with this mindset, eye for an eye mindset. And I believe that's all by design as well. This is an engineered energy crisis, engineered famine. Continuing here, the official also said that devastating blows against Iran will continue until Trump decides otherwise. I'm glad we have a dictator here. You know what I mean? Congress, huh? Representative government, huh? Checks and balances, huh? Now we have a dictator launching illegal foreign wars of aggression. But talks between our countries are continuing. Who's he talking to? The same shoe phone, Kushner, Witkoff, the can. Who's he talking to? Iran's foreign ministry strongly rejects attempts to justify U.S. breach of commitments. Iran foreign ministry spokesman Baghdadi responding to Tassim news agency said Clause 5 of the MOU affirmed Iran's right to manage the Strait of Hormuz. Analysis seeks to cast doubt on the text of the MOU, effectively help justify the U.S. breach of commitments and violation of the agreement. The document is brief, consisting of 14 clauses, and is completely explicit with no ambiguity. Clause 5 clearly emphasizes Iran's responsibility for the future management of the Strait of Hormuz in consultation with Oman and through dialogue with regional countries. No other interpretation can be drawn from it. The text leaves no grounds for excuses by the U.S. side. Even U.S. officials have not claimed that differing interpretations of the document were the reason for resuming attacks. The IRGC says it will, quote, immediately repel any U.S. intrusion into Iranian territory, with the deputy commander of its ground forces saying units are at their highest level of readiness. He said the force has expanded its air defenses, operational infrastructure, specialized training, advanced drones, precision-guided missiles, and other modern weapons to counter any potential ground attack from the moment it begins. Huh? I thought we blew all that stuff up at the beginning. What? Well, turns out Trump's a liar. Shocking to this audience, I know, but turns out Trump's lied to the American people on many occasions, in large part to war profiteer off of this. Kuwait and Bahrain were targeted by Iranian missiles and drones earlier today. Both countries have faced continuous severe waves of attacks in the past 24 hours. The IRGC says the ignorant president of the United States once again revealed his foolishness last night, stating that only a few missiles and drones remain for Iran and that their numbers are dwindling. The murderer president of the United States should know by now, by God's grace, even if this war lasts for several years, until the very last day, our missiles and drones will rain down on American criminals. Iran's foreign minister, Argachai, has given a detailed account of the 40-day war, revealing that Tehran believed war was inevitable before it began, had pre-planned retaliation across the region, and entered last-minute nuclear talks largely to exhaust the diplomatic path before an expected U.S. attack. In a sweeping interview with filmmaker Javid Maghani, Argachai described Iran's preparations for war, the opening attack that killed Iran's leader and senior officials, Tehran's regional retaliation, secret diplomatic exchanges, and the calculations that ultimately led Iran to accept a ceasefire. And they go through, let's see, goes over the first 40 days, essentially, of this war. Back to current now. The current operations by Iran, they've labeled Operation Nasr 2. IRGC has issued a statement regarding the 23rd wave of Operation Nasr 2, a direct retaliatory strike against U.S. military presence in the region in response to ongoing aggression. The statement emphasized the resolve of its own forces to continue these attacks despite claims from U.S. leadership regarding the depletion of Iranian military assets. The IRGC detailed the specific tactical objectives of this latest wave of attacks. Phase 1, an attack on the drone storage and maintenance warehouses belonging to U.S. units stationed at Shakir Air Base in Bahrain, resulting in their total destruction. Phase 2, an attack on the storage facilities for TF-59 class boats at Salman Port in Bahrain, resulting in their total destruction and severe damage to the vessels. Phase 3, the burning of the storage, support, and equipping facilities for Special Naval Commando Forces at Camp Afarijan in Kuwait, leading to their total destruction. These are claims made by the IRGC, so be aware of that. IRGC, reveals attacks on U.S. bases in Jordan, aided by accurate intel from locals. The IRGC announced on April 20th that its most recent retaliatory operations, I don't know, that's a wrong date there. Earlier today, they announced that their most recent retaliatory operations against United States assets in Jordan were carried out with cooperation and accurate information provided by the Jordanian people, sources on the ground there. Honorable people and troops of Jordan, thank you for your sincere cooperation and accurate information that led to the precise targeting of U.S. forces and the destruction of 20 shelters where child-killing U.S. forces were stationed in the Al-Azraq base, the IRGC statement read. Iranian media has released satellite imagery purportedly showing the aftermath of missile strikes on Jordan's Mawafqa Saltai Air Base between July 17th and the 19th. The attacks resulted in the killing of at least 3 U.S. soldiers and the injury of multiple others. Here's the before and after alleged satellite imagery out of Iran. You can see right there, they're claiming used to have this, right? Used to have these facilities. Now you have these facilities. there in Jordan, at the U.S. Air Base in Jordan. Here's a video of the claimed destruction. Satellite imagery reportedly shows extensive damage at U.S. military base in Jordan. Let's take a look at this video here. There's no audio, obviously, but they're showing before and afters, allegedly. Keep in mind, this is all out of Iran. We can't trust Iran any more than we can trust our own government. But sadly enough, throughout this war, Iran has been the more accurate, you could say, information reporting coming out. Honestly, we have not seen a fact check or a debunk by U.S. Central Command, which is customary on these disputed claims. We're waiting for a fact check from U.S. Central Command. So I guess no fact check would be that this is accurate, and a fact check, of course, would be a challenge to these reports. We're still waiting from U.S. Central Command. What are they? Iran is now on wave 21, 22, probably ongoing. This is earlier today of Operation Nasser 2, the retaliations. So it's ongoing right now. It's live. It's live bombings all over there. We're bombing them. They're bombing us, our assets in the region. Iran's president says country in full-scale war with U.S. Iran's president Pezeshkian has officially acknowledged the severity of the ongoing regional crisis by confirming that Iran is currently locked in a direct conflict with the United States. We needed that dude to tell us, I guess, to make it official. This dude, right? And they said he's just in large part a ceremonial figurehead anyway, but it's official. We're in a full-scale war with Iran, according to Iran president. The reality is that today the Islamic Republic of Iran is engaged in a full-scale war. Thanks for that confirmation. Iran foreign minister claims strike that assassinated Iran's supreme leader points to security breach that probably still exists. They have some moles, spies potentially inside the Iranian security apparatus, giving out location targeting data to Merka and Aardvark land. That's the claim here made by Odysee. He said that the U.S. and Aardvark land knew of the high-level meetings underway and struck the command center in Tehran's Pashtur district at exactly that moment. He added the problem was not limited to infiltration, but sometimes involved influencing the direction of decision-making processes, declining to elaborate publicly. Odysee said he has not met with the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khomeini, the Khomeini younger son, in person, as only a handful of people have met him, and that during the 40-day war, he and his colleagues never left the foreign ministry building because there was no safe place. And yeah, just a few hours ago, seeing if there's any more recent updates. Yeah, 4 hours ago, U.S. Central Command said we're bombing the hell out of Iran. There you go. Today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. forces began a new round of strikes against Iran at the Commander-in-Chief's direction. These strikes are designed to further degrade Iranian military capabilities used to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. As it says in the Constitution, we're mandated to be the police of the Strait of Hormuz. Sure, it does. Anti-Trump billboards, including one depicting Trump in a coffin, have popped up across Tehran, Iran. Here's a clip of the anti-Iran propaganda or anti-Trump propaganda in Iran.
That it had struck U.S. military assets across the Middle East in retaliation for another night of American bombardment of Iranian cities. These actions have severely undermined the interim ceasefire agreement previously in place. Oil prices briefly surged above $90 per barrel, following renewed disruptions to shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, before easing after Iran's foreign ministry indicated that mediators had presented new proposals to Tehran, suggesting diplomatic channels remain open. President Trump, facing domestic political pressure over rising gasoline prices, defended the latest U.S. strikes as retaliation for Iranian attacks that reportedly killed as many as 3 American service members. The conflict has further intensified with strikes on desalination facilities, raising fears of water shortages across parts of the Gulf and opening a new front threatening civilian infrastructure. Bahrain's Civil Aviation Authority reported that Iran targeted the kingdom's civil air navigation systems, though operations and air traffic continued normally.
We covered some of that, the Trump in the coffin last week. They're in Tehran. It's only getting worse. Let's pray for peace. It's quite horrific. We're bombing them right now. They're retaliating right now as we're live here on the air. Trump at the World Cup. He had is the narcissistic asshole that Trump is, has to inject himself into everything. Trump lingered on stage during Spain's World Cup trophy celebration as the team's players and FIFA president gently ushered him to the side. He got in their championship photo and they had to Photoshop him out of it. Here's some video and then we'll show you.
One final act on this incredible summer of soccer for Rodri to lift the trophy and for the celebrations to begin both here and overseas. And when Rodri's ready, here we go. Spain have won the World Cup.
They finally got Trump off the stage there. Here's what the White House posted. They had to catch Trump in the photo, right? Celebration of their championship. Spain took him out of the photo. They photoshopped him out of the photo. There you go. According to this report out of UK Express, Spain photoshops Trump out of World Cup celebrations. What is up with all these government people they want to be superstar athletes or something? Nobody likes you assholes. Remember Kash Patel won the gold medal for Epstein file cover-ups, was there at the Olympics celebrating with the hockey team. And it's like, bro, nobody likes you. Like, who are you? You're some loser that says, oh, I'm from the government. It's like these athletes, it's in their entire life. They worked to get to this world championship level. And some asshole from the government comes and wants to be part of it. It's just like, get lost, losers. You know what I mean? It's absurd. The government in and of itself, every second of every day shows the absurdity that it is. Clown world. And we had to have a little break from the absurdity. Here's pranksters. They're in the UK. Put up this image mocking the Meta AI spy glasses. A They Live reference. FDA walks back claim that Taco Bell lettuce supplier Taylor Farms was source of explosive diarrhea parasite. So the FDA yesterday issued an apology to Taylor Farms that their test was a false positive after they caused unknown economic damage to Taylor Farms de Mexico operation with this latest public health scare of explosive diarrhea. I mean, it's got to be a joke, right? Explosive diarrhea coming out of Taco Bell. I mean, give me a freaking break. More government piggybacking on everything they can. Marvel Studios here now. Marvel Studios, December 18th is Doomsday. They're putting out another one of these comic books. They played comic books into the ground, the superhero themes. Anyway, the only reason I bring this up is Marvel Studios says December 18th is Doomsday. Experience Avengers Doomsday on bigger, brighter, and more immersive screens. And see, they put out that promoting their new film coming out, Doomsday, December 18th. And who piggybacks on back of that? The health department, HHS. They say ultra processed foods meet your doomsday. Seriously? They're taking cringe to the next level every day in the Trump administration, trying to out cringe the last cringe thing they did. You're not cool. You're not hip. You're assholes. Everybody hates you. Sorry to report that. Is Jared Kushner the new Epstein? I don't know. Some are claiming that on the internet. Jared Kushner was in very good spirits at the World Cup as he continues to build his new private island in Albania exclusively for elites. Is he the new Epstein? I don't know. May very well be. There's more on Epstein, Epstein survivor.
What did you hope you would hear from Todd Blanche?
Well, obviously, let's start with what Senator Tillis. We would imagine that Senator Tillis did not just want a face-to-face, like just at least show your face to these survivors and then I'll give you my vote. I'm sure that is not what the senator meant. What we hoped and what we think Senator Tillis also would have wanted for us is that we would have gotten answers on why there are no investigations happening with these files and what happened with the egregious release of victims' names, identifying information while perpetrators' names were redacted. And so we hoped for some response that would have said, I hear you, I agree. I take responsibility for what happened. 1% of it, his words, shouldn't have mattered because it's still human beings that were affected. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times and how many different ways it was explained to Todd Blanche in that meeting, the harm that was caused, and it was not acknowledged.
Trump nominated Todd Blanche to be the next U.S. Attorney General.
Trump has nominated this guy, Todd Blanche, to be the new Attorney General of the United States. So, of course, this guy has always respected the law and institutions for justice. Yes, Todd Blanche is the guy who interviewed Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell and gave her, a convicted sex trafficker, a platform to lie about her conduct before she got a prison transfer. Yes, he's also friends with Maxwell's attorney, David Oscar Marcus. Yes, Todd Blanche said that the department was not going to release the remaining Epstein files, and he is also the guy who said redactions were only related to child abuse, torture, and death. And yes, Blanche is the same guy that once stated that the department was not planning to prosecute anyone else for such crimes. And yes, after the botched rollout of the Epstein files, Blanche is who Pam Bondi publicly blamed for it. So, let's give this guy a promotion. At this point, Epstein victims have publicly come out opposing Blanche's confirmation as the new Attorney General of the United States, which is weird because he seems like a really good dude. I find this part particularly interesting. Blanche has got a ton of money invested in crypto. And in April of 2025, he made clear that instead of regulating cryptocurrency, his strategy would be to instead prosecute people who use crypto to commit existing crimes like narco trafficking. But picking out a few bad apples for prosecution is better than actually regulating the crypto market, because this way Todd can make a bunch of money instead of doing his job. So it's better. In his past, Blanche represented CLS Global, which is a UAE-based cryptocurrency company that was convicted of wire fraud and market manipulation because he wanted to get to know the bad apples before prosecuting them one day, I guess. So this is all relevant experience. Internally, Blanche is considered Trump's enforcer for a few reasons. He was involved in the falsification of business records to cover up the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels leading up to the 2016 election, the defense of Trump's illegal retention of classified documents, vacating the convictions of the Proud Boys, subverting the 2020 election results. And before his Trump days, Todd Blanche represented Greg Lindbergh, an insurance billionaire who was convicted and sentenced for bribing state officials in North Carolina. One time, he represented a guy trying to profiteer off of N95 masks during the pandemic in US v. Romano, and there's more. This is all just a taste of what kind of guy we might have at the highest post in the Department of Justice of the United States.
It's exciting that we may have Todd Blanche be U.S. Attorney General there now. And again, doxing the Epstein victims, covering up the Epstein files. Let's get into the economic section of the show here now. Trump's 18-month deadline to cut electricity prices in half has arrived. Rates are up 18%. Yet another broken campaign promise. Report out of Reason Magazine. So, yeah. Everything Trump says is a goddamn lie. The richest 1% now have as much wealth as the bottom 90% of America combined, according to More Perfect Union. This FIFA World Cup was the most lucrative sporting event in history, according to CNBC. Yeah, it's a giant. Well, I guess as long as I guess at least we didn't have to build a bunch of new stadiums for them. U.S. federal agents have been told in recent days that the FBI would no longer investigate shootings involving immigration agents, according to a report out of the failing New York Times. BlackRock is leading a debt sale targeting at least $12 billion for its new El Paso data center project backed by Meta Platforms, according to the Wall Street Journal. Goldman Sachs has said the $5.3 trillion in AI spending by Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet through 2030 could put pressure on bond markets, you think? Cloudflare CEO Matthew Prince said, I think AI is going to destroy small businesses. So adding confidence to the for Main Street there, obviously. Hedge funds pulled back from U.S. tech stocks at a record pace over the last 2 months, according to Goldman Sachs, because they're smelling a bubble, obviously. Sergey Brin, Google co-founder, top spy agent for the government, excuse me, no, he founded it out of his garage, I'm sure, has poured $82 million of his own $270 billion fortune into a new campaign group to fight the tax against billionaires in California, according to the Financial Times. I got to say, sadly enough, I'm for this because that new tax, it's get the billionaire rich guys. That's fine. It's going to get down, as all taxes, as the state always does, it's going to get down to the minimum wage worker before you know it. And they're going to be taxing the hell out of them too, because, oh my God, you don't care about poor kids or whatever BS the lying criminal state comes up with to rob us blind. And no love to Brin here either, but yeah. Thankfully, the military industrial complex is profiteering handsomely at this stage in the economy. Main Street is having trouble affording gasoline for their vehicles to go to work, to earn money, to buy more gasoline, to go to work, to earn money, to buy more gasoline. Lockheed Martin introduced the PAC-3 Adaptable Compatibility Effector, ACE, a new Patriot interceptor, expected to cost less than half as much as the current PAC-3 MSE missiles, which cost about $4 million each. The company said production would begin within 36 months. Huh? So back to Iran has way better accountants than America, apparently, because Iran's using what their little Shahid drones that are what $20,000-$30,000 each, and they're taking out these $4 million U.S. Patriot interceptors, or the U.S. Patriot interceptors. $4 million rockets take out their $20,000-$30,000 drones. You see the cost efficiency there by Iran. Trump imposes an additional 50% tariff on a wide range of Canadian imports. We're going to tax snow out there for snow, the smoke, all of it. The maple syrup's just not quite as sweet as it used to be. All of it. For not being the 51st state and not joining North America Union Project, Greater North America, Technate with open arms. Trump to impose an additional 50% tariff on a wide range of Canadian products, cars, alcohol, dairy, and goods from wine to hockey sticks to cement. The tariffs take effect in 30 days and apply even to goods covered by the USMCA. I don't even know how you could do that. Everything they do is a crime, a lie. I thought this was a trade agreement signed, but who cares? I'm sure there'll be plenty of lawsuits behind it. Even these tariff goods even covered in the trade agreement, USMCA, energy, fish, critical minerals, and Section 232 goods are excluded. Trump's justification: Canada discriminates against U.S. exports. Blame Biden. The continuing theme here from the Trump administration, and it'll be the theme from the next administration. Blame Trump. Blame the next guy. Blame the next guy. Nobody ever takes accountability or responsibility for their policies. It's always that other guy. Biden's failed economy caused disastrous inflation and skyrocketing prices for the American people. Trump literally rolled out Operation Warp Speed, did the bailouts, shut down the economy, the whole routine we know we lived through, the bad times. It was Biden's fault. Yeah, so they're still kicking that can. A judge halts Paramount's $110 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery, siding with California and a coalition of states that sued to pause the deal, according to a report out of Reuters. Sea drone company Saronic announces a $3.2 billion Texas shipyard. So glad the military-industrial complex is doing well. Plane maxing. The White House is tone deaf. They don't care if we starve to death in the streets. They're posting this. We're hurting out here on Main Street economically. White House, Trump, I know you know, and you don't give a damn. But the absurdity is reaching. Well, I guess that is the point, to make it more cringe and more absurd every single day. Plane maxing, bro. We can't afford gas for our ground vehicles, and you're talking about plane maxing. Plane maxing. Trump says new Air Force One will be taken out of service to be maxed out. Plane maxing. It's not hip. It's not cool. It's cringe, disgusting, mockery of the American people. Trump's a criminal. Trump media. This again, it came out last week, but it deserves reiterating. Let me take the live commercial break and we'll come back with Trump media pitching $100,000 a month true social feed to Wall Street. Yeah. If you missed that report, we'll come back with it after this commercial break. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All that's free for you. If you have some funds out there, support independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week. Weaponized News, streaming live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern time. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there. You have the holograph sticker, the white background sticker, the clear sticker. Weaponizednews.com/shop. The link's in the description below this video. I messed around a little bit to see what would happen. I said, give me the AI title, because I write my own titles. Don't use AI for that. And it gave me this. I think I'm just going to go back to my own title and the little summary there in the description below. I'm going to cut that and just go back to manual. Anyhow, become a donor to Weaponized News. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App. All the links are in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. We give away everything free. There's no paywall to any of our reports. Support independent reporting and analysis. As I gave you that spiel, broadcasting 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern on all your big tech channels. Become a paid subscriber, Weaponized News Substack. We're streaming there live now. You'll get the full show. You'll get a summary of the show. You'll get links to almost everything we talk about for documentation and further research purposes. Become a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. Any which way you choose to support us is much appreciated. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All that's free for you. All right. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Monday, July 20th, 2026 edition. Ongoing bombing campaigns against Iran are happening now Iran is retaliating against our assets in the region, and it's only escalating and not looking good at all. It's looking quite horrific, actually, as we're now told there's 17 dead U.S. soldiers since the beginning of the Iran war, over 200 injured U.S. soldiers, and I do believe that the Pentagon is underreporting deaths and injuries of U.S. soldiers. And I do believe it's even worse than that. And now we're stuck in the tit for tat. Well, they killed some of our soldiers at a base. They're in Jordan. So obviously we have to fire back and kill some of theirs. And then Iran's going to say, well, you killed some of ours now. And then you see, it's literally never ending when eye for an eye is the attitude and policy. Let's pray for peace. Okay, back to the economic. Trump's a criminal. I don't know what to tell you, MAGA. You love being conned, ripped off, lied to. I don't, okay? I don't. I'm sick and tired of it from the government especially, but just writ large society. The trust level is massively decreasing. It's not sustainable. You can't have a low trust society when everybody's a con man, liar, criminal. It collapses, you see, into violence. We don't want that. Adding to the corruption, the head con man, most corrupt man in the world, competing with Bibi, your U.S. president, Donald Trump. Trump media pitching $100,000 a month Truth Social feed to Wall Street. This is a report out of Unusual Whales. It was widely reported last week out of the Financial Times. We reported on it here, but a little bit more details, and to reiterate it again, because it's kind of like, how do you do this and expect that it's legitimate? It's not legitimate. Trump Media and Technology Group is reportedly pitching Wall Street a 6-figure monthly fee for the fastest pipe into Truth Social. DJT unveiled a new product called Truth API, and per the Financial Times and Bloomberg, the price tag being floated runs up to $100,000 per month. What Truth API actually is, Trump Media introduced Truth API last week on Thursday as a paid for licensed data feed called Truth API to provide banks and trading firms the fastest access to posts from influential Truth Social accounts. The product will deliver posts from the 10 most influential accounts to customers at a significantly faster pace than a regular push notification on the Truth Social platform. The data feed is meant for organizations like high frequency and algorithmic trading firms, which depend on quick access to information, and is set to launch next month. It's straight. Come on, man. It's straight up rigged. You got to be kidding me. The $100,000 price tag, Donald Trump's social media company has discussed charging traders and investors as much as $100,000 a month for faster access to the U.S. president's post on Truth Social platform. The Financial Times reported on Friday. We reported to you here on Friday as well. TMTG has discussed the 6-figure monthly pricing with prospective customers. The company believes there is a strong demand among professional investors because Trump's posts frequently trigger sharp movements in global financial markets. Come on, man. Why traders may pay up anyway? Well, hell yeah, they're going to pay if you can get ahead, if you can front run the market on announcements by the president of the United States that's weaponized the world's reserve currency, the US dollar. you better believe their investment of $100,000 a month, they're going to profit that much more off of it. Why traders may pay up anyway. Professional trading firms routinely pay significant sums for low latency market data services, where even milliseconds can provide a competitive advantage in responding to breaking news. One hedge fund executive quoted by the Financial Times put it bluntly: people will pay because they have to. If you're behind on the news, you'll get crushed. Trump's a racketeer. It's straight up organized crime racketeering. All right. Throw his ass in jail. Oh, we can't, because his personal attorney, Todd Blanche, is going to be heading up the Department of Justice, covering up the Epstein files and not prosecuting Trump for racketeering. Track record of moving markets. Trump's announcements on Truth Social, such as his, quote, Liberation Day tariffs and posts about trading restrictions on China, have significantly impacted global markets. This makes his posts a critical source of information for traders, businesses, and financial institutions. Before his administration announced a pause on a broad set of tariffs last year, Trump wrote on Truth Social that it was, quote, a great time to buy. Straight up racketeering, rigging the markets. Shortly afterwards, the S&P 500 surged 9.5% in one of the biggest single-day gains. Trump has also posted favorable comments about companies such as NVIDIA and Apple, with those remarks contributing to rallies in their share prices. According to the report, Trump just has to go pump something. They know it's going to cause an increase, at least temporarily, in the short term. Knowing that ahead of time, you buy it, he makes the announcement, it goes up, you sell. Profiteering on insider knowledge, all rigged, racketeering. What it means for DJT, the move would be TMTG's first step into digital licensing, opening up a new revenue stream for the company, which has faced challenges in scaling its media business and intense competition from larger social media firms. Shares of TMTG paired most losses after the Financial Times reports. For more market moving stories, blah, blah, blah. So quite insane if we would put up with this bullshit. But hey, who's going to enforce the law when the racketeers are running the freaking racket? All right. We're over $1. We're over $4 a gallon, key threshold here in America, according to AAA. National average for the price of a gallon of gasoline. And it's going to keep going up here now. $4.003, $4 plus today. It went up about a penny from yesterday. Went up 13 cents from last week's average. And so expect higher gas prices as the bombing campaigns against Iran continue and their retaliation on U.S. assets in the region continues. And of course, the Rockefeller oil oligarchs are price gouging. And these prices, you could say, I don't care. Because the majority out there, I don't care. What are you going to do? I don't drive. I walk. Well, I am walking, actually, a lot of places more than I used to here. But it's going to affect it's going to affect the cost of everything due to diesel, particularly the cost of diesel to transport groceries and all your other goods, for that matter. According to Brown University, Watson School of International and Public Affairs, they're getting back on the ball here. I believe it's higher than this, but we'll go with their numbers for now because they have a nice little data ticker there. So Iran war energy cost tracker. Here you can see total consumer cost burden since the beginning of the Iran war on February 28, 2026 is now $71.3 billion. And then the cost burden spread across both gasoline and diesel per U.S. household is now up to $544.59. You can see right there. Let's watch this. Europe's in deep trouble. Let's watch this quick clip from Chris Martenson and old Rick Sanchez talking about the Strait of Hormuz and the commerce essentially being shut down going through there.
Who would suffer the most?
The average person. The United States is really, I think, we've always been the strongest sort of fort in the storm, but we'll do pretty badly, but we're going to do relatively well because we still have a lot of oil coming out of shale. And by the way, we import a bunch of oil still, but we get it from Canada and also Venezuela. So we're kind of regionally dialed in here. Europe is in deep trouble in this story, and a lot of Asia is in deep trouble. And of course, the weaker countries in really bad shape. Pakistan, Bangladesh, India would be in very bad shape because, again, as I mentioned, this isn't just the oil, it's the derivative products. And of those, it's the amount of fertilizer that's not being produced coming out of the nitrogen fertilizer because the gas plants in Qatar have been knocked out or are offline because they can't ship it right now. And as well, we're missing the sulfur. So we're starting to miss the phosphate fertilizer. And the United States has already had to do an emergency import of phosphate from Morocco, but Morocco, it's not getting the sulfuric acid it needs to do this. There's all sorts of stuff going on. And as well, in Russia right now, they are the world's #1 wheat exporter, and they're having trouble harvesting their wheat in certain areas because they've had so much difficulty with their fuel supplies because of all the attacks that the United States has openly admitted, well, we're helping target.
There you go. So you can clearly bomb your way to prosperity, obviously. No, it's created a global energy crisis, i.e. global famine, i.e. third and fourth world starves to death. And we pay in the first world over here, we pay a hell of a lot more for our groceries, for the bare basics, for everything. Because of all these inputs are no longer available in these sophisticated supply chains. Oil, obviously the #1, fertilizer, all these different inputs we've went over into many different industries. #1, oil and fertilizer, though, #1 and 2, obviously, they're of concern. Inputs way down 20 to 25% passing through the Strait of Hormuz, no longer. Iran demands IAEA condemnation over U.S. strikes on nuclear facility. Iran has officially called upon the International Atomic Energy Agency to condemn recent U.S. strikes on Tehran, claiming we, America, targeted the Dark Haven nuclear power plant currently under construction in the country's southwest region. Iranian Foreign Minister spokesman Baghdadi addressed the development during a press conference in Tehran earlier today, asserting that the agency should pivot from its previous political commentary on Iran to a definitive stand against U.S. aggression against Iran. Baghdadi stated, Iran expects the IAEA Board of Governors and the Director General of the IAEA, who from time to time makes political statements, regarding the Iranian nuclear issue, to clearly state their position on this matter in condemning the United States crime. U.S. Central Command put this out earlier today. They say U.S. service members aboard amphibious assault ship USS Boxer LHD-4 support flight operators day and night from the Arabian Sea as CENTCOM enforces the naval blockade against Iran. As of today, July 20th, the U.S. military has redirected 7 commercial vessels and disabled 1 to prevent the ships from leaving or entering Iranian ports. Doing our part to shut down, to cause the energy crisis and famine. So, great job there. Great job there. Here's little Marco. Here's little Marco Rubio on the Strait of Hormuz.
To protect global shipping, but other countries need to begin to step up and provide, whether it's hardware or financing, to help carry that burden. It is not the United States' job to protect shipping for the entire planet forever.
I don't disagree with little Marco, but yet we're there making it our job. It ain't our job. But it is our job because we decided to bomb Iran. So now we made it our job. Quite absurd. Kepler recorded 30 Strait of Hormuz crossings from last Friday through Sunday. 10 on Friday, 12 on Saturday, and 8 on Sunday, averaging just 10 per day, compared with 140 on average crossings before the war. Khomeini's still in charge. The Mullah regime still in charge. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. A complete and utter failure. Wikipedia already had posted that Iran won at least the first round of this war. It's a complete and utter disaster, and we're stacking U.S. troops' bodies. Goldman Sachs separately estimated that about 3.7 million barrels of oil per day were still moving through the Strait of Hormuz over the previous 7 days as of Wednesday last week, down from roughly 20 million barrels per day before the war started. Almost like that's the design of this war, to create a global energy crisis. And not just shipping through the strait, right? Blowing up all of these different petroleum manufacturing facilities all over the world, all over West Asia region, in Iran. We've in all the different, and Iran's counterattacks against UAE, against Bahrain, against Kuwait, against, go down the list, against Qatar, all these different, right? All these different U.S. allies in the region. They have their own oil operations. Iran's bombing the hell out of them. We're bombing the hell out of Iranian oil operations. Ukraine, our proxy, bombing the hell out of Russian petroleum operations. Two tankers managed by Greece's Danacom tankers were struck by projectiles of an unknown origin earlier today off the coast of Oman, as renewed U.S.-Iranian fighting threatens shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. Again, there's a blockade on a blockade. Iran has their gun. America's got their gun. Comply or we shoot you in the face on both sides. You know what I mean? It's quite horrific. Here's an image of that tanker on fire. There's some video. Iranian media published this video. So yeah, they whacked that ship, obviously. Iran's IRGC released footage of the launch of Kabir Sakan, Fatah 110, Zulfaghar solid fuel missiles in addition to the liquid fuel Imad missile as part of the precise and tactical offensive operation against U.S. assets in the region during the 21st and 22nd waves of Operation Nasser 2. I'll show you a little bit. Where they say anyone who destabilizes the security of the Iranian people will not themselves be safe either. That's what the stickers they're putting on the side of these missiles. There's a little bit of it. And so the whole tit for tat thing, and then of course American quote leaders are signing the sides of missiles too all over the place, giddy, smiling. This is going to kill an Iranian. Saudi Arabia's escape from Hormuz runs straight into Ansarallah's embargo. So they're trying to build these alternative routes and go around the Strait of Hormuz for shipping. Saudi Arabia, not so much, says Yemen here now. The leader of the Houthis there in Yemen, Ansarallah, declares maritime embargo on Saudi Arabia earlier today. And then their spokesman, this dude, we played him. He's always all pissed off, right? All their spokesman guys are always all pissed off. Anyhow, the report out of Drop Site here reads, Yemen's Ansarallah announced an immediate maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia, saying it was responding to the kingdom's blockade with one of its own under the principle of an eye for an eye. And so there we go. We're back to an eye for an eye. And if we keep that attitude, this thing will literally never end until everyone's dead and everything's destroyed and everything's dead. And then maybe Aardvark Land, all-seeing eye, will be happy. Or the city of London, maybe then they'll be happy. They still won't be happy when everything's destroyed, everyone's dead. The city of London still won't be happy. But that's where we're heading. Yemen declares maritime blockade. We covered that. Of course, it's old Ansarallah, Houthi man. Him, right? Yeah, so pretty much there's a war now between Saudi Arabia and Yemen, or at least the Houthi faction of Yemen. And they were doing the back and forth, eye for an eye on the airports. Now they've taken it to the shipping lanes. Quite horrific. Quite horrific. I was looking for a map here. I don't have a map. Maybe I'll just pull up a map. Let's just pull up a map here quickly. See if we can get a world map. I just put in Yemen. They usually give you a pretty good, so we can get an idea a little bit better. Yeah, here we go. Let's take a look here. They're shutting all this down. So this is already shut down, Strait of Hormuz, essentially, right? America's here with a bunch of guns. Iran's here with a bunch of guns. So essentially shut down now. And Saudi Arabia's like, that's okay. You know what I mean? We're going to go ahead and ship through here, right? Through the Red Sea. I forget the name of this passage, that strait. yeah, you guys screw around up there. We still got $1 billion to make with all of our oil. And so we're going to ship it through here. Yemen's like, not so much. We're now going to shut down this little strait right here. And so nothing's going to ship through here. You're going to have to go out that way. Some railways they're talking about building, working on other pipelines, but the main routes by sea, both there in the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz, essentially closed now. At least the Red Sea to Saudi Arabia. And as we saw before, when they were protesting the genocide on Palestine, they said anybody, basically. Remember how that went on a couple weeks? I want to say maybe a couple months. Remember that every time a ship would drive by there, a Houthi rocket would fire at it, and it'd be like, wow, they got their gun pointed right at us. We can't be driving through there. They backed off that a little bit. Now back to that same routine, targeted at Saudi Arabia. And they can very easily say, yeah, guess what? All you allies of America, we're going to go ahead and just say you're about the same as they did the last time around. And we'll shoot rockets at you too. So essentially closing here and closing there. And of course, the Houthis are allies with Iran. The access of evil there, as we're told. So major shipping routes essentially blockaded. Quite horrific. You can see right here, right? Here and there. Senior Ansarallah official. That's a Cradle report. Let's see. It's translated in English. I'll spare you. It is a good video. The Cradle put out, they say Senior Ansarallah official Bakati says GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council states, are still funding U.S. aardvark wars on Yemen, Iran, and Gaza, making regional peace impossible while Arab governments defer to Washington. They keep saying that. And again, I keep saying if these Muslims could ever get it together and stop their infighting, they could kick the Anglo-American establishment out of the region and handle their own business. But obviously, that's a key sticking point. The divide and conquer and balkanization is working well at this point for the Anglo-American establishment. So, yeah, they're taking it. They're going to shut down all shipping through that strait of through the Red Sea. I forget even the name of the strait. Anyhow, I'm sure we'll come back to it as more attacks occur, tragically enough. On to Ukraine, Russia now. Ukrainian drones hit Russia's largest online retailer, Wildberries Logistics Hub in Koldino, Moscow region, the company's largest facility and biggest in European Russia. That's like their Amazon, right? Not a military target. Back and forth, it's escalating there. Moscow blitzed by biggest Ukrainian drone attack, 400 Ukrainian drones. They're hitting deep. They're hitting in Moscow now. So they're hitting in Moscow. So they want Russia, and when's Russia going to hit in Europe now. You know what I mean? When are they going to hit us? They've said multiple times, we're going to take this as you directly attacking us, America, through your proxy Ukraine. And Trump just recently announced that NATO is going to give them the plans for the Patriot missiles. Fires rage near Moscow under Ukrainian drone strike. And back to the eye for an eye. Russia's going to have to retaliate and escalate. And we can never get to peace. NATO last month bragging. They're killing 30 to 35,000 Russians a month. CIA last week, Ratcliffe was bragging. New Russian soldiers on the front lines only last 20 to 30 minutes before a drone whacks them. It's horrific. Stop it. They won't. They want this escalation. They want this to turn into literal World War III. We're very close right now. They want this. Remember that. Who did this? That dirty Putin, right? Sure. UK got another puppet prime minister, the 7th UK prime minister in 10 years. They seem like a stable government. Andy Burnham, at least I can pronounce his name. This character, new UK prime minister. There. It's all a puppet show, all bullshit. The inner city of London, the banker's paradise, is what's running this whole program. Know that. But I guess the English people have to suffer under this bullshit government. The 7th prime minister in 10 years there out of the UK. Andy Burnham. They're asking, I don't know. They said, Pete, we're in a ceasefire in Lebanon. It's escalating every day. We report here now. Visual data confirms a significant escalation in Aardvark land reconnaissance drone activity across Lebanon earlier today, reported by the Cradle. You could see all these spots are reported reconnaissance drone activity. It's not a sex offender map. That's Lebanon, not Aardvark land, but you could see. And they had more others too. You could see here a wider shot. You could see a wider shot deep in Lebanon, all up in there. It's an ongoing demolition campaign on southern Lebanon by Aardvark land occupation forces. Here's some images. It's literally every single day, as they allege there's a ceasefire going on. Leveling the joint. More relentless Aardvark land attacks on southern Gaza continue as Aardvark land occupation forces deliberately burn down residential homes in Aniata. Here's a shot off in the distance. You can see them burning down people's houses. Massive Aardvark land explosion reported in southern Lebanese town of Taibith. You can see that off in the distance here, right there. And I did not check. Let's check right now if we can find. We probably can't. They buried her, Courtney Bonnu. Let's see if we can pull her up. They've been messing around. They've been messing around a lot with X. They let it go. They let us go free for like a day and a half, 2 days, and then they put the censorship clamps back on. And they unfollowed me from her. I went and followed her twice, and I go back and look, and I'm unfollowed from a literal war on the ground wartime correspondent. Seems pretty significant and important. They take it upon themselves to censor the hell out of her and me, right? Just even trying to get to her reports on the X. Of course, we wouldn't have it any other way. Sorry to do this live. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it. I can't find her. Who knows? They probably banned her. Hope they didn't whack her. We're praying for you, Courtney. Yeah, apologies. I should have got her set up or seen if her reports, if she had a new report from today, maybe at the end. But yeah, more. It's just ongoing. There's post after post after post. Aardvark land occupation forces burning down residential homes in southern Lebanon village of Kafr Benit. This comes on the heels of multiple Aardvark land explosions targeting the village since earlier today. You can see they're the same demolition campaign right there, right? Leveling all this. I'm sure they're working their way down to level all this next. U.S. announces start of, quote, pilot zone operations in southern Lebanon. The State Department says operations began earlier today in the southern Lebanese villages of Fruon, Sarafa, Zawatar al-Gardabi under the U.S. brokered trilateral framework between Lebanon and Aardvark land. The framework calls for the Lebanese army to take security control in the designated pilot zones, the disarmament and dismantling of Hezbollah and other armed groups' infrastructure, and the progressive withdrawal of Aardvark land forces from southern Lebanon. Washington said the launch was a result of last week's Lebanon Aardvark land talks in Rome, where the two sides agreed on guidelines for implementing the, quote, pilot zone process. Here's a map to give you an idea. So they took all this to the Litani River, right? They said they're taking all this. And you can see security zones, border lines. They said they're taking all this, so, and they have. And honestly, I don't see them giving that land up, as multiple Aardvark land government officials have said, from Katz to Ben Gvir to Smotrich to Bibi himself, have all said, we're going to go ahead and stay there now for our own security, of course. So they're still playing this game. Oh, there's ceasefire. It was just for our security. And now we're going to withdraw. I don't know. Under the guidelines of the trilateral framework, these zones are designated for complete withdrawal of Aardvark land forces and the subsequent deployment of the Lebanese army. The initiative further mandates the disarming of all non-state armed groups in the area, with the directive making a clear reference to the dismantling of Hezbollah. Something tells me they're not going to honor their commitment. I don't know what would tell me that. The consistent violations of every ceasefire agreement they've ever made? I don't know. Call me skeptical about this. I hope it does work. But I just don't see it happening. We shall see. Time will tell. But as of today, when they say this pilot zone trilateral framework from ceasefire peace talks has gone into effect, the demolition bombing campaign by Aardvark land on southern Lebanon continues. tragically enough. Meme of the day, we have a few out of the Department of War. Never back down. We unite the hands of our war fighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No mercy. Wow. That sounds pretty bloodthirsty, doesn't it? Who wrote that? Oh, we're merged with Aardvarkland? Not quite yet officially, but we're getting there. The American Warrior. Next meme of the day out of the Department of War. To be strong, to be tough, to be selfless, to be courageous, to be determined. These are the principles that are instilled into the veins of the American warrior. Isn't that nice? Aren't they all low T? I was watching the Boiler Room Friday after Weaponized News, and they're playing a report about this this doctor saying, yeah, supplementing all this testosterone, it can potentially and very likely sterilize you because these hormones throw your body all out of whack, especially for the males, obviously. And so it's a giant exercise in sterilization, essentially, for your manhood. Go low T MAGA. Fake and gay, but it will result in many cases sterilizing the troops. And they made a good point too. If you're going to go about implementing this testosterone campaign, then you're sterilizing the current troops in large part, then who's going to be your next generation of human troops? Oh, we're not going to need them because everything is going the way of Skynet, autonomous weaponized system. So humans will no longer need to breed anymore, contributing to the global depopulation agenda, as per the miracles out there as well. Any which way they can get to you. Seems they couldn't fill up the ranks. They're recruiting computer engineers to go ahead and help them expedite the build out of Skynet. They've extended the deadline here now out of the Department of War. So you computer engineers out there can still jump on board and do your part to build out Skynet. Deadline extended, resumes due by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on July 24th, 2026. Become a part of the Department of War and build out Skynet. The Department of War is extending the Warforce application deadline to July 24th, 2026. We need elite AI fluent software engineers to build, integrate, and deploy AI solutions where they matter most. No policy drafting, pure mission impact. So they need to build the Skynet out now. Was that a link? They posted it on LinkedIn? Get out of here. Anyway, still recruiting those computer engineers at the Department of War. On to Cuba. Is Cuba next? They keep telling us Cuba's next. Today, the State Department, little Marco Rubio, launched I guess we've always been at war with Cuba, as we've always been at war with Iran. We've always been at war with East Asia. We've never been at war with East Asia. Huh? Yeah. A la Orwell's 1984. For more than 6 decades, the Cuban regime has been the leading sponsor of radical leftism and third worldism in the United States. I even know that was a thing. Apparently, it's a thing now. Third worldism. The State Department is exposing the full history of Cuban espionage and subversion in our country. The American people deserve to know. And the State Department put out, how big of it even is it? I didn't even download the report. I was just like, yeah, I know. Cuba's pure evil because little Marco Rubio and the State Department told me so. And Trump says it too, so it must be the truth. They put out a 100-page report about how evil Cuba is, and some posters are like, "You're admitting that third world Cuba has undermined U.S. national security?" Like, what? Essentially, backhandedly, that's what they're admitting. Here's a summary of the report from the State Department. U.S. State Department cast U.S. peace activists as tools of Havana in report critics called McCarthyite. And then I have a question. If you're named as an enemy of the state in one of these reports, are you a legitimate enemy of the state, or are you being sheep dipped by the state to gain street cred and further go about your work for the State Department? Just saying, that is another possibility people need to keep in mind. A new 100-page report from the State Department on Cuba is drawing accusations of McCarthyism from peace groups and civil liberty advocates for naming private American citizens, including a member of Congress's daughter, over their opposition to U.S. policy. The report, titled "Cuba, the Capital of 21st Century Communism," the capital of 21st century communism's Cuba, cast the island as a decades-long covert threat that has infiltrated the highest reaches of the U.S. government and cultivated generations of American activists. In a section on revolutionary tourism, it names streamer Hassan Piker. I think the guy's a Fed, whatever. Amazon labor union founder Christian Smalls, the Democrat Socialist of America, former UK Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, and Isra Irshi, a campus activist and the daughter of Ilhan Omar. She didn't marry her brother. Over their participation in a March 2026 aid convoy to Cuba. It goes on to note that she was suspended from Barnard College in 2024 for organizing Gaza solidarity encampments. Why is the State Department naming American citizens in their Cuba report, where they seemingly complain about our opinions on U.S. sanctions policies? Piker wrote, "This is absolutely protected by the First Amendment. They are trying to chill speech through intimidation." I'd say they're trying to sheep dip Piker, but that's just my opinion here at Weaponized News. Mia Benjamin of Code Pink says, whose group is named, called the report McCarthyism, plain and simple. She said that Code Pink is now under Treasury Department investigation for bringing medical supplies to Cuban children's hospitals. The people delivering medicine are under investigation, not the officials enforcing policies that deprive Cubans of medicine, food, fuel, and electricity. The group of Cuban Americans for Cuba called the report an act of instigation and warmongering, saying it reads like a document assembled to confirm a predetermined conclusion. It said the report exists to justify has left Cuba with shortages of course, medicine, food, fuel, and electricity. The report makes no mention of U.S. energy embargo imposed in January, which the group's note has caused nationwide blackouts and devastating collective punishment across the island. Well, that's the whole point of the weaponization of the dollar, the sanctions, the blockades. They keep telling us it's to piss off the local population so much that they go and overthrow their government. And it's not this color revolution style strategy is just not working lately. It didn't work in Iran. It's not working in Cuba. And so these economic warfare policies are not causing a revolt by the local populations against their governments as is intended per the U.S. State Department. It's not working, guys, but yet increasing poverty there for the Joe Blows in Cuba. Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega announced that the country will no longer hold elections, ending any possibility of an electoral challenge after his current term. Ortega said the move would prevent opposition groups from returning to power. Yeah, if you stay in power, it's going to prevent your opposition. Ortega, who has ruled since 2007 after a previous presidency in the 1980s, did not explain how the change would be implemented. That's a report out of Reuters. And I do appreciate the Nicaragua has the triangle right there. Check him out. He's in the club. You see that? And their flag as well. So very nice there. Very democratic. No more elections in Nicaragua. On to these characters. The president of Aardvarkland, Herzog, claims that he and his family are direct descendants of King Solomon. He says rabbis have carefully recorded his family tree as proof of his biblical bloodline. We are descendants of King David. May very well be true. The same hereditary bloodlines that have always ruled for the last 6,000 years are in charge today.
And the name Herzog is a good name. Can you tell us a little bit about your family history as it relates here?
So my family lineage is amazing. I mean, usually people don't know much about all of their lineage. I have incredible privilege of knowing my family lineage all the way up to King David. We are descendants of King David, and it's written through, how do we get it? We get it through rabbis who wrote, I'm a descendant of so-and-so. My late grandfather, my namesake actually, was Rabbi Isaac Halevi Herzog. He was a giant of a spiritual leader. He was first chief rabbi of Ireland, and then he became chief rabbi of the land of Israel. But I am humbly serving my nation in many posts, and now I'm honored to be the head of state of this one.
As we reported here, every president in America is all related, all part of the same bloodline, except for what Martin Van Buren somehow snuck in there. All the rest are related by blood. And so it's the same satanic, dark occultist bloodlines that have ruled us since the beginning of our recorded history here now, at least since Jesus. Aardvarkland Finance Minister Smotrich on Gaza. Yeah, he's in the language here. I'll spare you the video. I'll just read you the excerpt here. Smotrich says, if we decide that this war ends with us conquering Gaza, quote, liberating the parts of our homeland there and settling them, then that is what will happen. And with God's help, that will truly be the absolute victory, not only in the simple sense of extracting a price and permanently installing a consciousness of defeat in those who did to us what these Nazis did to us. It will also mean that this is no longer just another round, that's it. There will be aardvark settlement. There will be an army, an aardvark army there. There will be security. Reality itself proves this simple truth. And they've taken what, 70% now of the Gaza Strip? They're taking the whole thing. They've said it multiple times. And how are they going to go about doing that? Well, whack everybody there, continue the genocide. Before we get to that, though, some damning admissions from former top U.S. government officials. John Feiner was Deputy National Security Advisor in the Biden administration. Don't we miss Genocide Joe right now? And Genocide old Antony Blinken, Bloody Blinken. They're about the same, honestly. It was that, well, they carried out the majority of the genocide under the Biden administration. Just saying. Well, it continues. There's literally no difference between a Democrat or a Republican because they're all self-avowed ultra-Zionists, essentially. Anyway, continuing what old John Feiner had to say. In an interview with the New Yorker, he and other senior Biden foreign policy officials spoke to the New Yorker. He acknowledged that civilian harm was not a side effect, but part of the strategy. It wasn't an accident. It was intentional. As we reported extensively, it's been reported. They had AI create target kill lists. 6 degrees of separation. 6 guys down the line talked to a pizza delivery guy that allegedly talked to Hamas, and everybody in that line is guilty of being a Hamas, essentially, is how they sorted it out. He said that the U.S. shouldn't tolerate wars in which civilian harm is a goal. Bro, you were Deputy National Security Advisor from 2021 to 2025. Pretty sure they were. It's always good to second guess after you're out of power, right? He said, U.S. shouldn't tolerate wars in which civilian harm is a goal. I agree. Who could not agree with that? And shouldn't allow our weapons to be used for that purpose. But when he was in a position of power as Deputy National Security Advisor, that's exactly what happened under his watch and continues to happen under the Trump administration. The New Yorker, with incredible quotes from Biden Gaza team, 3 years into the Gaza genocide, and Jake Sullivan still wants us to believe that preventing aardvark land from massacring civilians with U.S. provided drones is an unknowable philosophical quandary. Oh my God. A little excerpt from the New Yorker article, and they say, Sullivan, whose role as National Security Advisor made him the last to leave the room before Biden made a decision, told me that he had lain awake many nights thinking about what the U.S. might have done differently. On humanitarian aid, he said, we'd get progress and backsliding over and over and over again, adding, we should have found a way to get out of that constant push and pull. Yet Sullivan said that Biden and his top advisors had worried that a taking action to make aardvark land better protect civilians risked both failing to change aardvark land policy and leading Hamas to increase its demands. And he continued, when was the moment? He told me that the administration had seriously thought about making a decisive break with Aardvark land in spring of 2024 in the run-up to Rafah, when Hamas was stalling in negotiations, and again in July of 2024 when Hamas was coming back. But at each point, there were risks. What about the hostages? What about Aardvark land under attack from all sides? What effect would it have on the ceasefire talks and bring this god-awful war to an end? All total, complete, and utter bullshit. Oh, well, we thought about it, but then, yeah, we laughed when we saw those videos of the kids with their arms and legs blown off. Segue, there's a bunch of still photos. They're whacking Palestinian children. I'm not going to show it to you. It's horrific. Kids, their faces, you could tell. If they're not dead, they're badly injured. Faces, I guess I'm not going to show it. It's children, shrapnel, all these different wounds on them. It's quite horrific. The children were having fun and playing soccer, and suddenly they started screaming. One eyewitness said after Aardvark land struck a makeshift shelter in a hospital in northern Gaza earlier today, the attack killed 3, wounded many more. Some of the children wounded in the strike, and there's pictures of them. I'll spare you the gory details of seeing these kids. 3 Palestinians killed, dozens wounded. Latest attacks across Gaza. I don't know. They got a kid with a bandage. That's not so bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Little kids, like infants. Blowing up. Aardvark land drone struck a civilian vehicle in Gaza City earlier today, wounding up to 14 people, including children. 3 in critical condition. According to Gaza Health Ministry, 3 Palestinians were killed and 22 wounded in Aardvark land attacks across the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours. Well, the number of victims remained trapped under the rubble and in the areas inaccessible to rescue teams since the start of the so-called ceasefire took effect on October 11, 2025. Gaza's Ministry of Health has recorded a total of 1,158 dead Palestinian civilians, 3,756 wounded Palestinian civilians, and 802 Palestinian civilians' bodies recovered from the rubble. Top Aardvark land general says Aardvark terrorism in occupied West Bank threatens state security. I should have warned you. Aardvark on Aardvark crime. Trigger warning. Trigger warning. Anti-Septicism through the roof. Red alert. Red alert. Aardvark land settlers have expanded their attacks on Palestinians in recent months, as we continue to report here, in a bid to drive them from their homes and lands, dubbed the ultra-Zionists by the BBC. That's why I use that terminology, just taking it from Big Brother. A senior Aardvark land general has warned of the growing danger of attacks by Aardvark land settlers against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, describing them as Aardvark terrorists, describing it as Aardvark terrorism. The height of anti-Septic hate, dare I say. A senior Aardvark general accusing the ultra-Zionist settlers of Aardvark terrorism. It doesn't get worse than that. It's the worst of the worst. Speaking during a closed conference last week, Major General Avi Bluth strongly criticized the expansion of illegal settlement outposts and violence by Aardvark land Settler youth against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, warning that they represent a dangerous phenomenon that threatens the security of all. It's signed off on by Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. They love it. They're cheering it on, funding the freaking operation. Bluth is the commander of Aardvarkland Army Central Command, making him responsible for military and security operations across the occupied West Bank, occupied East Jerusalem, and the Jordanian border. If he's responsible for security, they're constantly trying to provoke the Muslims by desecrating the Al-Aqsa Mosque, trying to provoke. He's like, dude, like, can we take on World War Z here? You know, like, so you kind of get what he's saying with his hateful remarks, his hateful antiseptic remarks. Speaking about Aardvarkland settler attacks against Palestinians, Bluth said some are young people who do not respect the law while others take the law into their own hands. He expressed concerns about settlers establishing outposts in areas of the occupied West Bank classified as Area A and Area B under the Oslo Accords, an agreement signed between the Palestinian Authority and Aardvarkland in 1993. Area A is under full Palestinian control, and Area B is under Palestinian civil control and Aardvarkland security control. Here's an ultra-Zionist settler here, pulls out a handgun on a Palestinian farm worker. So here you go.
تعال جاي تعال جاي تعال يابا تعال جاي يابا تعال جاي تعال تعال جاي تعال جاي تعال جاي تعال جاي تعال جاي.
So shockingly enough, this Bluth is not a complete psycho, and at least recognizes the security threat against the job he's trying to do. Area C, which compromises 60% of the West Bank, is under full Aardvarkland control. Aardvark settlers regularly use the outpost to stage attacks on Palestinian farmers and shepherds, hoping such attacks will force Palestinians to abandon their homes and lands. Yeah. Let's go through detailing it a little bit more in this report out of the cradle. But yeah, as we continue to report, they're taking it all. They're taking it all. But it's surprising here because he has a job to do to keep up security. At least he's Avi Bluth there, Major General Avi Bluth. All right, have we blown up the world since we've been live? Let's take a look at the latest headlines out of Iran International. We'll wrap up this Monday edition of Weaponized News. War spreads beyond Hormuz as U.S.-Iran widen targets. It's horrific. IRGC says it destroyed U.S. radar, air defenses in Bahrain. Crew abandons tanker after projectile strike in Strait of Hormuz. IRGC says it struck U.S. drone hangar, military facilities in Kuwait. U.S. completes latest strikes against Iran, according to U.S. Central Command. IRGC says it hit 2 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, as we reported. Beyond espionage, Argachai says spies seek to shape Iran's decisions. We reported on that. They think there's a spy deep up in their operations. There probably is. There probably is. I wouldn't doubt it. And there's spies on all sides and everywhere in between. All right, latest out of Al Jazeera, and then we'll get out of here. Al Jazeera latest headlines. Iran attacks Bahrain and Kuwait, says 2 tankers in Hormuz on fire. Oil prices ease amid reports of U.S.-Iran mediation efforts. I don't get where that's coming from. Like, I don't get it. To all signs point toward further escalation. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. IRGC claims more attacks on U.S. military assets in Kuwait. That's like 20 minutes ago. Crew abandons tanker in Strait of Hormuz after attack. The thing was sinking. And U.S. Democrat demands end to Iran war, pledges new Senate vote. I'm demanding it too. We need to end this damn Iran war now before more U.S. troops are killed and injured. End it now. And before we freaking collapse the world economy as well. That's another side effect. That's another feature of the engineered energy crisis, engineered famine that we're creating here now. It's already baked into the cake, and it's only going to get worse as it escalates. End the war now. Trump, DC, CENTCOM, end it. No more dead troops. Let's pray for peace. It's quite horrific here. Let's head over to the channels. Let's check out Odysee channel first. And see if we have any listeners commenting over there. Shout out to Odysee audience. Yeah, they did the I think I'm gonna go with my own headline. I'm not gonna do AI. I just pushed the button today because I got that new feature. And it's pretty right on with my headline, but I'm not digging it. So I think I'm just going to go back to manual. Shout out to Highland, Huffman, John. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sulfur market is more representative than oil prices. Apparently, there's less manipulation, Huffman says. Let's take a look at the sulfur market. I will take a look at that. Sulfur. Take a look at the sulfur market. Thanks for that heads up, Huffman. Let's see. Shout out to Fat Bob over there. Yes, that is why Ivanka wants the island in Albania at a critical choke point between Italy and the Adriatic. By Highland. Chill. We're sending you groovy vibes, Highland. That Bob is, and so am I. And thank you for tuning in when you were able. Why does not Iran target Aardvarkland military assets in southern Lebanon? Good question. Allegedly, their proxy militia is, but that is a good question. Why don't they directly target them with the heavy weapons? That is a very good question. Fat Bob says Paul Craig Roberts asked several times that exact question. What held Iran back if it means what it says? That is a very good question. I'm sure the Lebanese are wondering the same thing. Iran could have easily wiped out Aardvarkland and their bunkers off the map. Alas, no. Even with a decisive victory, where even Bibi was in a bunker. Yeah. I don't know. I guess they figure getting bombed by U.S. gives them enough cred, and they don't have to do that. Do they really want to win the war? Is this just all soldiers and civilians cannon fodder for the all-seeing eye? It's looking that way to me. effing excellent question. Let's see. Is there a shortage of rental properties in Florida? Excellent question. I'm focused to remain. Don't join MS-13, Fat Bob. Don't join them. I think third worldism is what Trump and his cabinet is imposing on the middle and working classes here in America, John says. Yeah, apparently. They've now defined it. Third worldism. Blame Cubans living in poverty for your problems. Man. We're all to be flaming with each other going forth to make their war crimes against all humanity in their ways of doing it far more acceptable. Master Chef on Fox. Anyone? 33 ways to serve mankind. Fat Bob. Oh, he's got some good ones. True, though. True. Fat Bob, let's see. John says maybe Grandma was the center of communism. Thank God one of our demented presidents eliminated the menace. Ronnie, Sleepy Joe, and the orange lie box. That's a good one. Trump is now known as the orange lie box. We're our soft as puppy shit. Oh, man. Shout out to Pink Vegas. She says people should see the photos. Yeah. They'll censor me on YouTube and on Facebook. And those are our two biggest channels right now. And it is quite horrific for everybody to see, honestly, these kids blowing up. I understand that the world needs to see it, but go to the Cradle. Go to the Cradle. There's a lot of, you can find it on the internet. The Cradle post it sometimes. A lot of these Arab channels post it. But again, I feel like it's like reaching the point of snuff films. Probably a Freemason involved in Iran too. They have a history, like aardvarks. I know. All right, friends. Thank you for tuning in and chatting it up and making some great points over there on the Odysee. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on X, Kick, Bitchute, Substack, YouTube, and Rumble. Let's head over there to the YouTube and Rumble chats if I can handle it. The trolling. I'm sure there's no trolling today. Shout out to Def, Snow. Everything is on fire. I love my government. See, there you go. They finally got snow in line up there in Canada. Shout out to Silver Strong on the Rumble. You can advertise his slave coin all you like, but I'll never invest. Oh, man. Let's see. What do you think about the U.S. government now claiming? Airline says, airline pilot on the YouTube. What do you think about the U.S. government now claiming and closing off even more BLM public lands around Area 51, Nevada, such as the very well-known public viewpoint known Peekaboo Peak? I don't know. We're in a war. They do need to secure areas around our military bases. I don't know. And they're probably covering up whatever secret testing they're doing at Area 51 as well. Obviously. Hello from Iran. Wow. If that's true, amazing you're able to be on YouTube. We need to destroy this evil demon, Iran. Wake up, people. These people want to destroy. Bro, we attacked them first on BS from Bibi, sold to Trump, sold to America. They were going to nuke us in 2 weeks. Are you a good one or a bad one? That's funny. These comments are killing me. See, I bring out the best in people, Snow. Thank you for tuning in. They're killing me too. I do tend to bring out the best in people. Yeah, so that's how we're doing our job here at nonpartisan Weaponized News. The entire government is a crime syndicate, and that's how we do our job. Is we piss off the right, left, and center. Not really the center. I see myself now actually in the center here now, fighting against extremists on both sides here, saying, hey, well, yeah, remember the founding of the country, America 250, natural rights, what this whole thing's about? Yeah, they don't care about any of that. They care about their petty partisan politics, and it's complete and utter bullshit. You should care when the Democrat criminal's in charge. You should care when the Republican criminal is in charge. They're both stealing and destroying, lying, cheating, and stealing and destroying. Trump the betrayer, liar, liar, liar. You guys amuse me thinking that it's Trump, it's both sides. You're playing right into the cabal's game. You guys need to watch Weaponized News for longer than a 30-second segment to formulate an educated opinion, I would say, out there in the YouTube commenting audience. The revolution will not be televised. We used to play that show. That song before they started tagging everything with copyright. Over $5 for diesel and going up. Yeah. Who's that? John says, yeah. I don't know where you're at. I'm in California, John Cash, and it's freaking $7, $7.50, $8. Make the goyim pay the debt. Yeah. Well, you're not out here. I'm out here at a truck stop right now, and the price is staying steady. Dude, I'm citing AAA national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline. Like, these people are whack in the comments. You're trolls or you're not. Go to Weaponized News Substack. I post links to I'm telling you, I'm spitting straight facts here. So go argue with AAA about it. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Yosemite Sam is a septic. Oh my gosh. Democrats want America to lose. I don't know. You tell me. Republicans are in total control of the federal government, legislative, executive, and judicial. And the economy's shit, and we're in a major war. So, yeah. But, yeah, Democrats want America to lose. I think the entire government wants you and I, Joe Blow, American citizen to lose. Please get over your petty partisan politics. Zoom out for a second and take a look, man. As long as we're fighting with each other about Republican, Democrat, the government is laughing their asses off as they commit crimes hand over fist, stealing from you and I and our children's future. Know that, believe it, because it's the damn truth. Which of the 5 genocides your favorite genocide? Geez, that's dark. None of them. It's all Gaza, Sudan, Ethiopia, Myanmar, Democratic Republic of Congo. None. It's quite horrific, and it's all very evil and dark, and I believe blood sacrifices to their Babylonian evil gods. Makes all the refueling aircraft in Aardvark land look like good omen? Question mark. Pamela says. Shout out to Sean on the Facebook. Hope all is well, Sam. I hope all is well with you as well, Sean. Thank you for tuning in on the Facebook. The Uniparty Bread and Circus 365, brother. There you go, Jeff. He got it. And I like his icon, the cat with the tinfoil hat. There you go. That pretty much sums it up. All right, friends. Thank you for tuning in on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. On day what? On day 142 of the Iran war, with gas pushing back up past $4 a gallon on average across America. And Jeff says Vietnam Operation Phoenix was bad. Yeah, I agree with you. So, yeah, let's pray for peace. It only seems to be escalating. We're going to do it. Apparently, we're going to have an eye for an eye policy. We hit them, they hit us. We have to get vengeance back, and so on and so forth. And it just turns into a never-ending bloodbath again, with all these governments sitting on top, laughing, going about depopulating you and I, Joe Blow Iranian, Joe Blow Aardvark, Joe Blow American, and so on and so forth. And it's plain as day, because why is Iran not doing like they were saying? Why are they not backing up their proxy militia Hezbollah there in Lebanon? It's a very, very good question. Well, it would speak to the fact they want it to continue drag on. I don't know. I'm thinking they're all working together at the very top levels through secret societies, a la Freemasons, other spinoff groups, a la Operation Lockstep. We just saw them all work together during the bat times because they care so much about your public health. All right, friends. With that, I'm going to wrap up this Monday edition of Weaponized News. As always, everybody, do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Monday evening. Let's pray for peace, and we'll see you tomorrow for more